is any part of you still living at that point?
No, you're not living, but this is actually a really important discussion. We could get really philosophical about this. You're not living because life implies metabolism and activity, and obviously we've stopped all of that happening. But you're not dead either, because dead implies that you've gone beyond repair, right? You've gone forever. And that's not the case either. Just as we've seen with the case with skin cells and corneas and other things that we can, they're not alive because they're not functioning, but we can bring them back.
Yeah, just like Tom Brady. Almost, you know?
So death is not a clear concept, actually. At least most people don't have a clear idea of what death really is. So we've talked about clinical death. That's just when a doctor says, I declare you dead. Well, sorry, that's legal death. Legal death is where a doctor says, I'm going to call you dead. Maybe I can bring you back, but I'm going to call you dead. I'm giving up at this point because there's nothing more I can do. Clinical death is different, right? Clinical death is just when you stop breathing and your heart stops beating.
That's it. Those are the two requirements.
Yeah, but in the old days, that was death to people. Like before about 1960, if we were talking and you were so excited about what I was saying that you just went, and you had a heart attack and you stopped breathing, we check your pulse, and just like in the old Star Trek series, he's dead, Jim. That was it. We gave up.
Yeah.
We don't do that today. Someone would jump on you, start doing CPR and defibrillation. We'd be shocking you and probably bring you back. So what we said was dead before about 1960, we don't consider dead today. We consider in need of help.
So dead keeps evolving.
Yeah. What we call dead keeps evolving.
What we call dead keeps evolving and keeps changing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
And today, sometimes we had the idea of brain death to take it further. So in our view, when someone declares you legally dead, you're also clinically dead at that point. You're not really dead in some fun. If by death we mean irreversible, you've gone forever. You're not dead because almost everything in your body is still alive. Now, you will be dead if we don't intervene and stop things decaying. If we do what most people do, which to me is completely crazy, throw you in the ground to be eaten by worms and bacteria, or shove you into a gigantic oven to be incinerated, which is just crazy stuff to me.
Yeah, at that point, you can't really do that. You can't be reheated.
Back. That's right.
Now, what about this? So with clinical death and legal death, is that where they're then able to take organs and donate them?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So after clinical and legal death, you still have organs that go and can live in someone else.
Exactly.
Man, that's a pretty good insight of what could be possible one day. Then.
And what's an interesting point about that, there's also something called donation after cardiac death, which means that actually your brain, in principle, your brain can still be functional when they take your organs out.
Wow. You got to be really, really generous to do that.
That's something they could in principle do. So this idea of dead is actually a lot more complex than people realize. They often, talking about cryonics, say, well, look, dead is dead, so it's impossible. Well, what kind of death are we talking about here? There's different kinds.
It'd be crazy if you're like at a street corner, some guy gets hit by a bus and people are like, he's dead. And you're like, is he?
No, you better. That's why we call the emergency medical services, because just because they're not breathing doesn't mean that they're dead yet.
Wow, man.
So,
it's interesting to start to think about, what is the idea of death and when is it? But we already have two. We have legal death, clinical death, and then we have the point where you've incinerated or gotten, damaged the whatever's left so badly
that's
that it's irreversible.
Yeah.
And to you, that's real death.
And we have a special term for that, which will sound very, very highfalutin probably, because it's some of us are philosophers like myself. So we call this information theoretic death. Now, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Basically, the idea is, well, obviously, let's say you're in a plane crash and you were totally incinerated on the crash. Are you dead? Well, yes, you're dead because there's no conceivable technology that could ever fix you. So even if we gathered your ashes and froze them, nobody could ever fix that.
Yeah.
But if, just take an example. Let's say that, let's say, Theo, that you're doing some kind of nefarious thing. You were thinking about robbing a bank or doing something like that, and you were kind of sitting in your chair here, kind of writing it down on a piece of paper. Okay, first of all, I got to buy the guns here, and then I've got to find out how to get through the locks, and then I've got to, all your plans detailed on a piece of paper,
planning
right?
Masks, maybe.
You've done this before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quiet shoes.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got your plan on this piece of paper, and you think, oh God, that was so stupid. Why did I write that down? Someone's going to find this. The FBI has been maybe sniffing around, and so you take the paper, you shred it in one direction, you shred it in the other, you throw it in the trash, you think, okay, I'm safe now. No, you're not, because if the NSA's been watching you, because they know what kind of guy you are, come on, they probably are.
Oh yeah, they definitely, I've gotten a couple of, I haven't gotten actual mail, but I've gotten emails that say I got to tone it down.
So they got their eye on you. So they're going to go into your trash, they're going to fish that out, they're going to lay it out, they're going to scan it, run it through a very clever computer algorithm, and they're going to reconstruct what you thought you'd destroyed. And if you think about the brain, it's like a three-dimensional version of that piece of paper. You could do a lot of damage, actually, to the brain. You can damage the cell membranes, poke holes in them, change some of the chemistry. It doesn't mean that you couldn't ever repair it. So long as there's enough information left in the brain that some advanced technology, like an advanced molecular nanotechnology, maybe run by artificial intelligences, whatever, if it can put those pieces back where they were, then you could actually bring back the function of the human being. So that's why we call it information theoretic death. If you've lost too much information, there's too much damage, it's really obliterated, then you're dead. But beyond that point, you're not, because more advanced technology could, in principle, repair you. Now, we don't know for sure that's going to happen, but it seems like a pretty good bet we're going to get better and better at repairing people.
Hope you enjoyed that video, and you can watch another. And you can watch this one, you can watch this one. Different options, different choices. Some guy just brings you one option, not this guy. Two options. Watch one, this one or this one.